Welcome to Cryptic Library. Step inside, if you dare. Here at Cryptic Library, we delve into the shadows to uncover terrifying creepypasta and chilling lore that will send shivers down your spine. From bone-chilling tales of the unknown to dark legends that linger in the corners of your mind, we bring the haunting words of Byrom to life. Prepare yourself for gripping narrations, eerie atmospheres, and stories that will keep you looking over your shoulder long after the screen goes dark. If you crave the mysterious, the macabre, and the utterly unsettling, then you found your home in the Cryptic Library. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell, you won't want to miss the next chapter in our tale of terror. Are you ready to turn the page?
Title: The Midnight Key by Byrom. I first found the key in an old cigar box buried at the back of my grandfather's attic. The box was unassuming, save for the faint stench of mildew and stale tobacco that clung to it like an unwelcome guest. Inside was a collection of odds and ends, a tarnished cufflink, a dried-out fountain pen, and a single brass key. It wasn't special at first glance, a typical skeleton key, slightly bent, its surface marred with scratches. But the moment I touched it, an icy sensation shot up my arm, like I dipped my hand into a frozen lake. I recoiled instinctively, my pulse quickening. I should have left it there. Later that night, I sat at my desk, turning the key over in my hands. The metal felt unnaturally cold, no matter how long I held it. My grandfather had passed away years ago, and the house had been empty ever since. Whatever secrets the key unlocked had likely been forgotten. As I examined it, I noticed something I hadn't before, faint etchings along the shaft, symbols that didn't resemble any language I knew. They seemed to shift under the lamplight, writhing like worms trapped in soil. That was when the whispers began. At first, I thought it was the wind, soft murmurs threading through the cracks in the old house. But as the minutes passed, the sound grew more distinct, more deliberate. Words I couldn't quite decipher, spoken in a voice that was neither male nor female, but something in between. It came from the attic. I told myself I was imagining things. Sleep deprivation, maybe. Stress. But the whispers didn't stop. They followed me as I moved through the house, threading through my thoughts like an invasive parasite. By midnight, I couldn't take it anymore. Clutching the key, I climbed the creaking staircase to the attic. The air grew colder with each step, the kind of chill that seeps into your bones. When I reached the door, I froze. It wasn't just any door. It was new, impossibly new, its wood unblemished and gleaming in the moonlight streaming through the attic window. I'd been in that attic a dozen times, and there had never been a door there before. The whispers grew louder, more insistent. My hand trembled as I slid the key into the lock. The door opened with a groan that seemed to echo through eternity. Beyond it was darkness, thick and impenetrable. Not the kind of darkness you find at night, but something deeper, more malevolent. It felt alive. I hesitated, every instinct screaming at me to turn back. But the whispers had turned into a cacophony, a relentless tide of voices that drove me forward. I stepped inside. The air was thick and suffocating, carrying the scent of decay and old wood. As I moved further, my feet brushed against something soft and yielding. I crouched down, my fingers trembling as they met the unmistakable texture of fabric. A dress. It was small, made for a child, and stained with something dark and dried. I recoiled, stumbling backward, but my hand brushed against another object. A toy, a stuffed rabbit with one glassy eye missing. My breath hitched. The room was filled with them. Dresses, shoes, toys, all scattered across the floor in haphazard piles. And then I saw them. They were hanging from the ceiling, figures cloaked in shadow, their limbs dangling lifelessly. Their faces were obscured, but their eyes were wide open, glistening with something that wasn't quite human. One of them moved. It twitched, its head jerking toward me with a sickening crack. A low, guttural sound escaped its throat, a wet, choking noise that made bile rise in my throat. The others followed. Their movements were unnatural, like marionettes controlled by an unseen hand. They began to descend, their limbs twisting and contorting as they crawled toward me. The whispers returned, louder than ever, filling my head with a single word, repeated over and over: stay. I ran. The darkness seemed to close in around me, the air growing thicker with each step. My hands fumbled for the door, but when I turned back, I saw it was no longer there. The room had changed, stretching impossibly far in every direction. The figures were closer now, their eyes gleaming in the dim light. One of them reached out, its fingers brushing against my arm. The touch burned, searing into my skin like a brand. Desperation took over. I gripped the key and turned it in my hand, as if it could somehow undo what I'd done. To my shock, the symbols began to glow, their light cutting through the oppressive darkness. The figures recoiled, hissing like feral animals. The door reappeared, glowing faintly at the far end of the room. I ran for it, the key clutched tightly in my hand. I don't remember how I made it out. The attic was empty when I returned, the door gone as if it had never existed. But the key remained, its symbols still faintly glowing in the dark. I tried to get rid of it. I buried it in the woods, threw it into the river, even burned it. But it always came back, appearing on my nightstand the next morning, its metal cold and unyielding. The whispers haven't stopped. They grow louder every night, beckoning me back to the attic. And sometimes, when I'm alone, I hear footsteps above me. Waiting.